You need to see this right now. What I'm about to tell you hasn't hit the tickers at Bloomberg. It isn't being whispered in the hallways of the New York Times. And the talking heads at CNN are currently reading from a script that was outdated 60 minutes ago. The world as you knew it, the world of undisputed American hegemony and the total security of the Israeli state, just ended. While you were going about your day, the geopolitical tectonic plates shifted so violently that the dust won't settle for a generation. 3 minutes ago, a flash priority cable hit the desks at the Pentagon, and the silence coming out of the White House is deafening. The truth is harsher than anything you'll hear on the news. Israel is on the brink of a total systemic collapse after Iran just did the unthinkable. And no, it wasn't just a missile strike. It was a technical decapitation facilitated by a secret partner that the mainstream media is desperately trying to scrub from the narrative. Look, I've spent my life in the trenches of military intelligence. I've sat in the booths at the CIA. I've analyzed theater-level movements of the Soviet Union for decades, and I've inspected the weapons of mass destruction that the elites lied to you about back in 2003. I know when a narrative is being managed. I know the smell of a cover-up. And right now, the air in the Pentagon is thick with the scent of absolute, unadulterated panic. I will reveal the smoking gun, the specific piece of technology, and the secret handshake protocol that the Pentagon is currently trying to classify as we speak by the end of this video. But you have to stay with me, because if you don't understand the mechanics of why Israel's Iron Dome has suddenly gone dark, you are going to be blindsided when your bank account stops working 48 hours from now. Close your eyes for a second and try to visualize the sensory reality on the ground in Tel Aviv right now. The sky isn't blue, it's a sickly bruised orange choked with the haze of salt and the heavy metallic tang of unburned diesel. The horizon is flickering with the rhythmic mechanical pulse of failing electrical grids. Imagine you are a sensor operator at an Aero 3 battery site. You're looking at your radar screen, and instead of a clear picture of the incoming Iranian Fatah hypersonics, you see nothing but snow. You see streaks of white light. You see ghost signatures, hundreds, then thousands of them, appearing and disappearing like phantoms. The sirens are wailing, a continuous mournful scream that vibrates in your teeth and rattles your rib cage. Your communication lines are dead. You pick up the handset to call the command center, and all you hear is a low-frequency hum that sounds like a million hornets trapped in a glass jar. This is the reality of the electronic warfare suite the Chinese have just activated to shield the Iranian assault. In my time in military intelligence, we prepared for theater-level conflicts where the enemy would throw everything they had at us. We understood the order of battle. We understood the mechanics of an all-out assault. But what we are seeing today is the unthinkable. The total integration of Chinese electronic warfare with Iranian kinetic strikes. The data I am seeing from my sources on the ground indicates that a massive Chinese-flagged container vessel, the COSCO Kunlun, has just crossed the jugular vein of the world, the Strait of Hormuz. On paper, it's carrying consumer electronics. In reality, it is radiating a signal so dense, so sophisticated, that it has effectively blinded every Aegis combat system within a 200-mile radius, including the U.S. destroyers meant to protect the Israeli coast. Stay with me, because the most shocking part of this, the actual payload that triggered the scramble at the National Security Council, is coming in just a moment. Think about the technical specificity here. The U.S. Navy and the Israeli Defense Forces rely on the Aegis and the Green Pine radar systems. These are multi-billion-dollar pieces of hardware designed to hit a bullet with a bullet using SM-3 and Arrow interceptors. But those interceptors are useless if they can't find the target. The COSCO Kunlun is utilizing what we call an EW integrated block. These are modular, high-energy jamming units hidden inside standard 40-foot shipping containers. This isn't a small-scale jamming pod. This is high-energy, wide-spectrum interference that targets the very heart of the Navy's cooperative engagement capability. When I look at the telemetry coming out of the region, the Mach 7 signatures we're seeing aren't missiles yet. They're the spoofing footprints of a total system collapse. We are seeing $50,000 drones neutralizing a defense network that cost $100 billion. The math doesn't work for us anymore. The elites in the Beltway will tell you we have the technological edge. They are lying. They are looking at the same data I am, and they are terrified. Now we have to move into the stress response loop. This tactical blindness is just the first step. The second step is a regional war that bypasses the military and hits you in your wallet. If Israel cannot defend its airspace because of the Chinese electronic veto in the Strait of Hormuz, the Israeli state begins to collapse from the inside out. When the sirens don't stop, when the power stays off, when the airports are closed because the radar is snow, the economy of Israel, the high-tech hub of the Middle East, evaporates in a weekend. And that's when the petrodollar dies. The petrodollar is the only thing keeping the American economy afloat. If the U.S. Navy cannot guarantee the safety of its allies in the Middle East, the Saudi-U.S. security pact is dead. If that pact dies, the dollar ceases to be the world's reserve currency. Your 401k, your savings account, the equity in your home, it's all denominated in a currency that is backed by the belief that we can control the world's energy. 3 minutes ago, that belief was proven to be a fantasy. We are looking at $15 gas at the pump. We are looking at a hyperinflationary event that will make the 1970s look like a picnic. I will reveal the smoking gun that the Pentagon is hiding, the proof that our own systems have been hijacked by the end of this video. I've analyzed theater-level conflicts for decades, and the signature of this move is clear. It's a pincer. While the world focuses on the noise in Eastern Europe, the real knife is being shoved into our ribs in the Middle East. The grief I feel for our troops and our allies is immense. We are sending them into a kill box with outdated doctrine and arrogant leadership. I'm talking about young Marines on the USS Abraham Lincoln, men and women who believe they are defending freedom, while the elites use them as pawns in a game they've already lost. They are sitting on ships that are currently blind and deaf. The smell of cordite and melting copper in the radio rooms. That's the smell of a superpower in its death throes. Let's dive into the logistics because this is where the truth lives. To reach the unthinkable, Iran had to wait for the perfect moment of American weakness. That moment arrived when our interceptor magazines hit critical lows. We've been shipping our SM-3s and our Patriot missiles to foreign wars for years, hollowing out our own domestic and regional defenses. The Chinese Type 726 EW array currently on the Kunlun wasn't built overnight. It was built using the very technology we outsourced to them over the last 30 years. We gave them the microchips, we gave them the research, and now they've packaged it into a quantum century array that maps the quantum fluctuations in the local magnetic field. This allows them to see through our stealth coatings while making our own radar look like a television from 1954 with no antenna. Think about the psychological state of the decision makers in the Pentagon right now. Imagine the war room. It's dimly lit. The large screens are showing signal loss across the Persian Gulf and the Mediterranean. General officers are shouting over each other, trying to figure out how to explain to the president that the most powerful navy in the history of the world is currently being held at bay by a merchant vessel. They are paralyzed. And in that paralysis, the Iranians have launched Wave 55, a saturation strike of 3,000 low-cost drones followed by the Mach 10 Fateh 2 hypersonics. Our defense systems were designed to handle 20, maybe 50 targets at once. They were not designed for 10,000. Israel is on the brink of collapse because they have run out of interceptors and the resupply ships are currently wandering blind in an electronic fog. Stay with me because I'm about to reveal the specific piece of intelligence that the mainstream media is currently under a D notice not to report. The actual contents of the Kunlun's central hold and the handshake protocol that has neutralized our defense systems. Why is the media scrubbing this? Because the elites, the ones who own the networks and the defense contracts, they have already moved their money. They've already hedged against the dollar. They are prepared for the collapse. You are not. They want the chaos because chaos is the ultimate tool for domestic control. When the lights go out and the gas hits 15s, they will tell you it's for democracy. They will tell you it's a temporary sacrifice. They are lying. They want a great reset because it allows them to reset the board and erase the debts they owe to you. The technical specificity of the Costco Kunlun's array is staggering. It utilizes cognitive radio technology, meaning it learns our frequencies in real time and mimics them. It's a digital chameleon. It creates a bubble of misinformation that our systems cannot penetrate. In my time in military intelligence, we dreamed of this kind of capability, but we never thought it would be used against us so effectively so soon. Having analyzed theater-level conflicts for decades, I can tell you this is the Sputnik moment of the 21st century, but this time we are the ones left on the ground. And now we move to the final, unthinkable scenario. The nuclear threshold. If Israel realizes its conventional shield is gone, if they see the Mach 10 signatures of Iranian hypersonics falling on their population centers, and they cannot stop them, the Samson option comes off the shelf. This is the stress response loop taken to its logical, terrifying conclusion. If the US cannot stop the Chinese EW ship and the Iranian missiles, Israel may feel they have no choice but to use their undeclared nuclear arsenal. And if they do, Russia moves, China moves. Suddenly, the 40, 65-year-old American who was just worried about his grocery bill is looking at the end of civilization. I'm seeing reports now from my sources in the Persian Gulf of thermal events near our satellite arrays. The digital shield is expanding. This isn't just about the Middle East anymore. This is about the total blackout of the American intelligence network. They are cooking our circuits from 10 miles away. The Type 726 array is capable of not only jamming but actually capturing the data link of our drones. We've already lost 3 MQ-9 Reapers in the last hour. They didn't crash, they were hijacked in midair. They are currently being flown to Iranian air bases to be dissected by Chinese technicians. The media will say they suffered a technical glitch. They are lying. Our own tech is being turned against us. This brings me to the smoking gun, the handshake protocol. My sources have confirmed that the microchips in our Aegis systems, the very brains of our destroyers, were manufactured in factories that are under the influence of the Chinese Ministry of State Security. Deep within the architecture of those chips is a backdoor code. When the Costco Kunlun crossed the strait, it sent out a handshake signal, a specific sequence of bits that tells our own radar systems to ignore incoming signatures from specific Iranian launch sites. We aren't just being jammed. We are being told by our own equipment that there is nothing to see. The Pentagon found this out 3 hours ago. They realized that their entire multi-billion-dollar fleet has an off switch and China just flipped it. That is why Israel is on the brink of collapse. They didn't just lose a tactical battle, they were betrayed by the very supply chain that built their defense. The elites outsourced our national security to the people who are now using it to veto our existence as a superpower. Think about what this means for your bank account tomorrow morning, when the insiders realize that the US Navy is no longer in control of its own weapons. The flight from the dollar will become a stampede. You will see the Great Reset happen in real time. If you have $100,000 in the bank and the dollar drops by 50% overnight because the petrodollar has been replaced by a UN gold peg, you just lost $50,000 without a single shot being fired in your neighborhood. This is the silent war. It's the war for the commanding heights of the global economy, and it's being fought with electronic warfare systems disguised as trade. I've watched this coming for 20 years. I've analyzed theater-level conflicts for decades, and I have never seen a more perfect checkmate. The flickering communication lines between Washington and Beijing are currently being used to negotiate the terms of our surrender. Not a surrender of territory, but a surrender of our way of life. The elites are currently negotiating how much of your savings they are willing to sacrifice to keep their own power intact. They will tell you it's a temporary crisis. They are lying. It is the permanent end of the American era. The sensory drama of this is unmistakable. The orange skies over Tel Aviv, the mechanical scream of the general quarters alarm, the smell of melting copper in the radio rooms of our most advanced ships. It is a sensory overload of failure, and it was all avoidable. It was all preventable if we had leaders who cared more about the reality on the ground than about optics and polling. Stay with me, because there is one more detail that will chill you to the bone. The quantum sentry array on the Kunlun is currently mapping the brainwave patterns of the crews on our ships. They are using low-frequency pulses to induce geopolitical anxiety and physical fatigue among our sailors. This is neurological warfare. We are seeing reports of sailors collapsing from exhaustion and confusion. The media will call it heat stroke. I am telling you, having seen the signatures of directed energy weapons, that this is a systematic deconstruction of the human element of our military. The world changed 60 minutes ago. The reality on the ground is that the United States is currently being held hostage by a shipping container and a piece of code. The Hormuz veto is in full effect. The Aegis is blind. The petrodollar is a memory, and the dollar is a dead man walking. I want you to understand the gravity of this. This isn't a news story. This is a tectonic shift. I've analyzed the data. I've looked at the Mach 7 signatures. I've talked to the guys in the booths who are seeing the Aegis saturation firsthand. The truth is harsher than anything you'll hear on the news. The elites have already moved their money. They want the chaos. You need to prepare. You need to get your house in order. When the trucks stop moving because the gas is $15, you'll realize that military intelligence isn't just for soldiers. It's for anyone who wants to survive. The smoking gun, the handshake protocol, proves that this was a 20-year plan. They waited until we were at our weakest, until our political system was fractured and our military was overextended, and then they cast their veto. Keep your eyes on the shipping trackers. Watch for the Costco Kunlun. When it moves to the center of the strait and drops anchor, that is the end of the game. I will continue to monitor the feeds. I will continue to bring you the truth from my sources on the ground, the truth that the military-industrial complex wants to bury. But for now, know this: Israel is the first domino. The strait is closed, and China is the one who closed it. Stay vigilant. The truth is the only weapon we have left. The orange skies are here. Get ready.